Let's give another round of applause for Deby! I'll be doing a reprise of that at the end of the show. For those of you who know me, that was a joke. Thank you guys all so much for coming out again. I wanted to first start off by giving a huge shout out to three very special people. My family came up from Reading, Massachusetts. And you guys all came from other places like Brooklyn, so round of applause to you. I wanted to start off by introducing our first guest, Clara Polito, if I can pull out my little note card. Clara Polito. Oh, sorry, actually our first guest is Brian Rudolph. Our first guest, Brian Rudolph, is the co-founder and CEO of Banza, a developer and manufacturer and marketer of nutritious comfort foods. Banza's first product, a pasta made out of chickpeas, Banza pasta, is the fastest selling pasta in both Whole Foods and Target. The pasta was named one of Time's 25 best inventions of the year and has been endorsed by the New York Times, Food and Wine, Bon Appetit, Good Morning America. Today the product is available in over 11,000 stores. Please help me to welcome my friend who's trapped in the corner, Brian Rudolph!
Welcome. Thanks. Well, I sure wish my bio read like that. That is impressive. You are up with the game of our guests on the show, Brian. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Excited to be here.
Yes.
I'm like horrified of comedy, so very excited that I'm like on stage. This is actually like what you do is super impressive to me. So
I haven't been in a sketch yet. Well, relax in the comfy chair. You're here to talk about your incredible product, Banza, your company. Can you just kind of walk us through, in your own words, what the product is and the origin story of the company?
yeah. Has anyone heard of Banza? Does anyone know? Cool. All right. It's a good place to start. We're near Brooklyn, so kind of makes sense. The product is a high-protein, lower-carb pasta made from chickpeas. Started it about 5 years ago. I was living in Detroit at the time, actually, and grew up eating a lot of pasta and came to the realization that I had a food allergy. So unfortunately couldn't eat regular pasta, which growing up it was literally all I ate. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Like super picky eater, 3 to 4 nights a week, favorite food. I started making a pasta out of chickpeas in my kitchen just because I wanted to eat pasta. I was there through a program called Venture for America, which is modeled after Teach for America, but instead you go and work at a startup. So I got to be the first employee at a startup, and it was a really cool experience. I don't know if there's a lot in between, but that's kind of like the earliest version of it.
How did you land on chickpeas? Like, why chickpeas?
Yeah.
You were messing around in your kitchen. Like, I've seen the pictures of you, like, first cooking it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Why chickpeas?
Eat a lot of hummus and like chickpeas. I think there's, from like a business standpoint, there's a lot in common between like one thing that I saw that was super successful was Xiadani, and love their products, and figured if our pasta was higher in protein and lower in carbs, has a lot of similarities to what Xiadani did. So that was kind of like the initial thought process, and chickpeas are really high in protein. They're also lower in carbs, they're really high in fiber. They're getting a lot of really great press lately, which is awesome. The Atlantic just wrote an article today about how everything should be made out of chickpeas, so I'm not complaining. So they're a really amazing ingredient, very affordable to grow, super environmentally friendly. The short version is the more you eat, it's good for people and actually good for the planet, which I don't want to go too deep off into science land, but they're like, when you grow them, it actually has a net positive impact, which is cool.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so this isn't something you guys publicize a lot, and I want to get into talking about like how cool like your marketing is for the company, but you have a sustainable mission behind Banza, right?
Yeah.
And kind of like improving just nutrition around the world. So could you tell us a little bit about that too?
Yeah. So I guess can go back to what makes chickpeas so great. So they, one, are a very environmentally efficient form of protein. It's part of the reason they're so inexpensive in the first place. And then also when you grow them, they fix nitrogen into the soil. So nitrogen in the air and in the soil instead of having to fertilize artificially, which also creates greenhouse gases. Instead, it's just happening naturally by growing legumes. So any bean has that benefit. And from a marketing standpoint, we don't talk about that a ton, actually, because even though in New York, a lot of people care about being environmentally friendly, and actually a lot of young people care, which is great. But I'd say on the whole, most people just want to know what's in it for them. So we market it more just as a better version of pasta. And eventually that other part that really motivates our team will become part of our story. But to start off with, just to get people's attention and to get them to care, it has to be more about what's in it for them.
And I can certainly speak to that. The pasta is absolutely delicious.
It's kind of
I think, and it is incredibly nutritious. There is so much protein and fiber packed into it. I know this sounds like an ad, but I really love it. And while we're talking,
we're on sale at Whole Foods right now, by the way.
While we're talking, we want to bring out a little sample for everyone in the audience tonight. We have some Banza pasta and a pesto pasta salad with cherry tomatoes. There are nuts and cheese if you have an allergy, and we have some plain pasta as well. If you need that instead, just let one of your actors/servers know. So while we're enjoying that first bite of Banza, I want to thank Brian for a second. So Brian, you were making this in your kitchen. How did you get it? Is it 11,000 stores, like 13,000 stores now? It's like a crazy number with Whole Foods, with Target, like an incredibly diverse range of places. Like, how did you scale it? Like, how do you go from that to such an incredible pasta empire?
Yeah. So our first exposure, actually, I did a reality TV show. It was a lot like Shark Tank, called Restaurant Startup. So that was our first mode of getting the word out. And then the person who invested on that show is one of the owners of Deby. So our first two stores were Elyse. And one of the nice things is, it's pretty cool. And one of the nice things is when you start with a super premium store, everyone aspires to be like Elyse, so it actually made it a lot easier. Like we could go to someone like Kroger and be like, hey, we're in Elyse, and they gave us immediate credibility. So it's a cool way to start.
And from there, it just piled on. Everyone else wanted to get in their stores. Generally, are people do you approach the store with the product?
Yeah, so did a ton of cold calling, leaving people voicemails, a lot of people getting angry. Because I think to a stodgy 60-year-old buyer, the idea of chickpea pasta is offensive. So for a long time, I was definitely getting ignored, but all it took was a few retailers to take a chance. And surprisingly, one of the first ones was ShopRite, which is not too far away. If anyone grew up in New Jersey,
Woo!
so that was actually really our first big break.
But also you guys are really good at connecting with your customers too, and that's something that's a really important value of the company and how you get out there and get people to try it. How did you kind of ideate and create that kind of culture and ethos?
Yeah, so at the same time in the first few months, we did a lot of farmers markets. And at farmers markets, we learned what people liked and what they didn't like. One of the first things we learned was that if we said gluten-free, almost everyone would run away. And so our packaging actually deliberately does not say gluten-free on the front of the packaging, which was very irregular when we made that decision, but it shows by not saying that it is gluten-free that it's a pasta for everyone, which is our goal. We want people to come together over a meal, not just the one person in the corner who has a few allergies like me. So,
and so you've also started launching other types of products, like pasta.
Yeah.
What is kind of next for Banza? Like what direction are you taking? Where do you see it growing? And tell us about some of your other products.
Yeah, so it started with pasta, but I've now learned a ton about chickpeas. Like, chickpeas are my life. So I now know.
You should sell rapid teas.
Yeah, cashews. So who wants to buy?
That's not my life.
Yeah, chickpeas. Yeah, what I've learned though is they are an incredibly healthy ingredient, and here in the U.S. we eat way too few of them. And the areas of the world where people live longest, they eat 4 times as much as we do. So just finding a way to get people to eat more of not just chickpeas, but any bean would be a major win, and it would be very fulfilling. Like, I could wake up every day and be excited about the fact that there's this positive impact. That. Thinking about not just pasta, but we actually just introduced chickpea rice, which was very confusing to a lot of people also. Like, just as confusing as pasta was to people, the idea of taking a food that grows in the ground and replicating it is also offensive. Like, a lot of people who love rice or rice buyers could not comprehend that you would try to replicate something like that. But the point was, we saw people using our pasta in rice dishes. So people were making stir fries using our rotini, which doesn't really make any sense. So instead, we just made a little rice-like shape and adjusted the formula to make it bite a little bit more like rice. So now, in Whole Foods, we have a chickpea rice. We just launched it 3 weeks ago, and it's been cool.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's fantastic. Well, chickpeas, they're more of my life now, and hopefully even more to come. I need to try your rice. I just want to say thank you again so much for coming on the show. Let's give it up for Brian.